Alrighty, so week 6 is done. Week 7 is heading at us, and this video attendance for week 7 is also going to serve as your Learn Together video. A little bit because I'm behind this week. I love code review weeks. This means I have a little less time, but I also heard some of your feedback last night or for your week 6 attendance about maybe and it's not that you said I was creating more video, it's just that you don't watch some of it. So I'm like, you know what? Because the idea is not to have you spend more time than necessary watching video. Since you're already watching, maybe this is a good time. That could be some of your reply if you wanted here. So here's what I'm going to do. Week 6 code reviews. I actually have something in week 7 Learn Together where I want you to just each of you had a different experience, but in general, this is a really important process to me, and I feel to this class. So your feedback is important about that, and I know that. Anyway, I just want you to know it's important to me. Part of this week is you're going to have to do that. But before I say that, we are into the part of this course where we're actually now going to learn how to write code. JavaScript code to handle the browser, which is really why we're here. But I really like the way Andrew has set up the course to just focus on the language. And now let's take what your understanding and move into the browser. So I want you to be thinking about, and some of you I got a chance to ask this too, but if I didn't, and if maybe you haven't gone through reviews, because I have, again, you have until next Thursday night to sign up for a code review session. So what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Where did it go? Oh yeah, think about that. The code that you wrote for Dev 0, you can take that concept into Dev 1 and expand on it in the browser by writing, creating forms, handling inputs, and then handling the user input to process your particular chosen data. I can already see for me how I'm going to do this because I'm going to continue my EV charging concept, but I want you to be thinking about this as we move into this next section, okay? So to kind of help you start thinking about that for Learn Together Week 7, what I want you to do is take the Learn Together work from our last one. For this case, it'd be 5 because 6, as I just said, has been our code review. So take your work from week 5, create a new directory called week 7, W7 in your public repo, right? And in here, just add a button to process that data. So here's what it should look like. I've done it for my mileage app. And let me just stop this. So what should happen if you've done this right is you should have just a button setting on the screen. And then when you click the button, it processes the data, right? Your stimulus data. So you don't have to update your stimulus calculation or output. All you're doing here is adding a button that handles that. So I'm going to show you an example of how I've implemented this here as a way of giving you a little more visual on how to use DevTools. So I'm going to hit inspect in here. I'm going to go to sources. I'm going to click on my app.js file. Now this setting and the first thing you want to do, because what happens is now that I'm already in the page and I've already processed it, what I'd want to do is refresh it so that I have that button setting there. And what I'd want to do is set a breakpoint within the event listener. So let me talk about that for just a second. One of the things you learn is handling the user input. And in this case, you're handling it through a button. And in JavaScript, and you'll learn that this week, you're going to do that through adding an event listener. Okay. Now, what I've done here is at the top of the page, and this is something he'll show later, but I just do it as practice, as my standard practice, is I set up a const, I say form element. And what I'm really doing here is saying query the DOM. Okay, and this is something you'll hear more about, and he's going to talk about the DOM. But all I'm saying is point to that form. Now that form, if I looked at my index page, hey, actually that's not, yeah, it's right here. I set up a form, and actually I could remove that action. That's something we'll talk about later. Actually, no, we'll talk about it today. And then I put a button inside of there. Now there's more I could have done here, but that's simply all I did was put a button inside of a form. The action is actually going to be handled by my event listener. So then, and by the way, I just want you to know this, console, you can just type form EL for me, that element. And when you do, it actually shows you what that is representing in memory. It's representing that form itself. So then when I go back and I look at my source, it says add an event listener. The event you're going to listen for is a click. Okay. I like that in the course, he actually has you look at this event because there is a lot that happens here. And all I'm doing is saying event default, prevent default, which basically is because, and you'll learn this the more development you do. And I think he talks about it just a little bit. But in here, when we're looking at the action, because typically forms are handled by backend services, but we are handling them on the client side. So the reason this action in there is because typically it's handled by server. So because we are going to handle it locally, we just tell it, hey, prevent your normal default behavior. And then all I did was I placed whatever I had at the bottom of my code, which was actually the thing that called my functions. And then I just placed them within here. It says, so when you click, run this code. Okay. So when I click, what I'm doing here is because I've set the breakpoint, it stops here. And then I just want to step through, right? And watch my code run. And again, you're going to have this again when it comes to Dev 1. So the more you learn it, the better. And this will actually become more clear as we're actually delving into learning more about how to handle the browser inputs or how to code for the browser. Okay. So I just want to show you that in way of the code that I'm going to write. And then I will do also my own example with the stimulus as well, but I probably won't create a video for it. So that's the first part. Give us your Git hack link. And then for the part 2 of this is worth a little bit of writing. I just want you to talk about, right, what your experience was, any feedback you might have on this process. I know one of the things that I'm going to do after talking to some of you is, in addition to emailing out the video and the link, I'm actually also going to post it on Discord, because I think some people gets lost in their emails. So that's one of the things I'm definitely changing for that. So, but that's just like logistical. What I really want to say is how this is I've said this before, this is an important process in this class. This is also something that if you're going to continue, you will have code reviews in your future. So the sooner you get used to talking about code, understanding how to write code, and then talk about it, it is going to serve you very well. So this is my way of doing that. And it's honestly the only way I know how to assess how well students are translating the concepts in this course. Okay. All right. So this again will serve as your week 7 Learn Together. And then I will chat with you soon. Peace out.